What's up, Star Wars nerds? And on this edition of Hyperdrives, I have for you the brand new Luke Skywalker from A New Hope for the Vintage Collection. And just let's take a look at that card back. It does not get more classic than this for Star Wars, guys, with the image of Luke staring into the twin suns. This is the figure that arguably started it all, and it's just such a classic card back. I love the way this looks. Here's a look at the back. It is VC 344, and I really love this dark orange. It's kind of like a tiger blood orange, if you will. Really looks good. Of course, it matches the classic orange used from the original Kenner Luke Skywalker, and it just works so well. It is a long time coming. Now, the last time we got this version of Luke in 3 3/4 scale packaged with the classic card back was this original trilogy collection pre-TBC Luke, and as you can see, the figure is just severely outdated, and they went with the cloth goods, and we'll get into that as I get into the figure. But that's just the last time we got this type of packaging for 3 3/4. And then the closest thing we've gotten to Farmboy Luke in the official Vintage Collection line is this Death Star Escape version of Luke. Great release, love the card back, love everything about it, except the figure is unfortunately just really outdated. It's just not good. And so we were desperately in need of the Farmboy version of Luke updated on that classic original 96 card back, and we've been wanting this for a long time. Of course, Hasbro's been building up to this by giving us other definitive versions of main characters from A New Hope, including Princess Leia Organa and Darth Vader. And these three just look fabulous together. This really gives me all the feels for classic vintage Kenner Star Wars. But enough about the card backs and the nostalgia. Let's get this figure open to see if Hasbro came through for us. So here is Luke out of the packaging with his accessories, and he comes with this tiny little comm. It's got a little peg on it so you can hook it up to his belt, but it's got some nice little paint on there. It's not all one color. And there is his unlit saber. Really liking this. It's got a nice metallic silver paint on it and plenty of details there. And here is his lit lightsaber. It's got a good length on it and basically the same well-painted hilt. Very happy with the accessories. All right, so let's take a closer look at the figure itself. Great head sculpt. Very impressed once I got this in hand. This is one of the better Luke or Mark Hamill head sculpts they've done. So regarding the head sculpts, what I've done here is I've brought in my 3 favorite head sculpts of Luke from the Vintage Collection. You've got the X-Wing Luke, and we just compare them, and you can see I thought this was a pretty good head sculpt for the time, but you can see it just looks a little bit odd. Then there is the Stormtrooper Luke, which I used to really like, but now again, just a little bit outdated and odd, and a lot of soft features there still. So I still think this A New Hope Luke is much better than that. And then my previous favorite head sculpt from Luke was actually the Jedi Luke from The Mandalorian, but that is a different version of Luke and a much older Luke, and so it's kind of hard to compare. But again, let me know what you guys think, because these head sculpts can be very subjective. The sculpting for his hair looks great, and look at the sculpting for his tunic, his shirt. It's the wrinkles there. There's so many wrinkles captured in this. It looks very realistic, and I, for one, am all for the soft plastic mold when it's done right versus soft goods. Yes, I love soft goods when that's done right, but I just think it's too difficult for these 3 3/4 figures in some cases where it just looks too poofy. And definitely don't like where they use the combo of the plastic above the belt and then soft goods below the belt. I think this looks totally fine, but let me know in the comments if you would much prefer a soft goods tunic for Luke in this case. So here's what he looks like with his accessories, holding his comm in one hand, and I've got the unlit saber on the belt. And here's what he looks like holding his lit lightsaber with his comm on the belt. Really liking the overall look of this figure. I think he looks better than I expected. So let's run through the articulation. He's got a standard ball for the head, so plenty of motion there, and he can tilt his head pretty well downward, but he can't tilt it upward because of the back of his hair kind of blocks it. So just keep in mind you won't be able to pose him looking upward, unfortunately. Moving to the arms, he does have a standard ball hinge there at the shoulder, and he can get his arm up pretty high, and then at the elbow another ball hinge, and it can articulate right at 90 degrees. I know some newer figures can get a little more sometimes, but 90 degrees is just fine in my opinion. And then at the wrist, he's got hinges there as well, what I call vertical hinges. So you can bend his hand up and down which is great for Jedi lightsaber wielders. Moving on to the waist, the crunch joint is right at the belt, which I love because it's basically hidden. You can twist, but moving back is pretty limited. Moving forward is good enough in my opinion. At the hips, he does have the new barbell hips, which is great. You've got a swivel joint at the top of the thigh, and then you've got a standard ball hinge at the knee that can also rotate, of course. And then you've got the latest ball hinges at the ankles, which are rocker ankles as well. So plenty of articulation for the ankles, which is fantastic. Overall, the articulation is what you'd expect. It's all new. And as you can see, he does pass the ever important two-hand test for lightsaber wielders. All new figures for lightsaber wielders should be able to hold their lightsaber with two hands, and he does it just fine, no problems at all. And here he is next to some of the other latest versions of A New Hope main characters, including Vader, Leia, and R2, and he fits right in. The design overall looks very consistent with the other figures in my opinion. Now, I just wanted to bring in my previous favorite 3 3/4 Luke. This is the Saga Collection Luke with his poncho and sun hat and binocs, and it was a great figure for the time. And I was just curious to see if his poncho and his sun hat could fit on the new Luke, and it does. It actually fits pretty good. It doesn't look half bad. Obviously, the hat is a little outdated. But it doesn't look too bad, and the whole reason I am doing this is to say that Hasbro has an opportunity here to re-release this brand new Luke and a deluxe version where it comes with the poncho and the hat and the binocs and possibly the chest that Obi-Wan keeps his lightsaber in that he gives him, and maybe even a T-16 Skyhopper model that he plays with in the movie. That would be awesome. That would be a very good reuse of the figure to get more out of it. And then one of the things I'm excited to get this Farmboy Luke for is to complete my scene for the Sale of the Droids. This is the Power of the Force 2 Sale of the Droids set. You can see it comes with this severely outdated 3PO, another figure we desperately need. And then it's got this outdated Luke. You can see the difference is laughable, but he does have his binocs on his belt. They don't come off though, but yeah, just not a good version of Luke. So I've replaced 3PO in Luke, and of course this is the only Owen we have aside from a comic book version. So I would love to get an all new C3PO and an Owen Lars to complete my scene. And as you can see here, I've got all my figures set up for the Sale of the Droids scene, just really waiting on an all new C3PO to go here. And as I mentioned, a new Owen Lars would be really nice. So if you couldn't tell by now, I'm really happy with how this Luke Skywalker turned out. I really think he was better than I expected once I got him in hand. The face sculpt is great. He's got the updated articulation. The molding for the soft plastic tunic with all the wrinkles really sells it that this was the right decision to go with soft plastic versus soft goods, in my opinion. Overall, I think Hasbro did an awesome job on this Luke, and I think it is truly worthy of calling it a definitive version of the Episode 4 Luke Skywalker. Thanks for watching.